Good afternoon, St. Lucia, and welcome to Politically Incorrect. My name is Mr. Ed. Why? Because I'm hoarse, still. And yes, I am taking plenty of honey and lime. Honey and lime, honey and lime. This bottle was full this morning. So I'm doing my best, but it is what it is. Nonetheless, it is Thursday, February 8th, 2018, and issues are still clear and present. So let's start off very quickly. The police. You're not getting a raise.
Prime Minister Alan Chasney was the featured speaker at the Police Welfare Association's annual general meeting, which was held on Wednesday. There, the Prime Minister reiterated the government's commitment to improving operational conditions of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. With negotiations on the table, the association has made no bones about its intention to ask for a salary increase. Prime Minister Alan Chasney explained to the officers that in order to facilitate an increase, he must first grow the economy.
So, as Prime Minister, I have to find a solution to that problem. And it's not just as easy as to sit down and say, I'm going to agree to pay an increase. Because where's the money going to come from at this particular juncture? But here's the good news. The good news is that the policy changes that we've made in the short term that we've been in office, 19 months I think at this point, we're seeing that the economy is due to grow in excess of 2%. We're seeing that we're able to have a primary surplus for the first time in I think almost 15 years or 10 years.
The Prime Minister highlighted a number of projects soon to come on stream, as well as the restructuring of various processes, which according to him will improve the economic situation and overall productivity of the country. One such initiative is the border control, which Chasney said will ease the constraints on other entities.
So there is a significant amount of work that's coming in that to me is going to now show that we can start growing this economy. I'm keeping operating costs within government tight. And I'm hopeful that within the next couple of years, I'm going to be in a position to start paying people the salaries that they need. But in the meanwhile, we have to restructure your processes.
The Prime Minister assured members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force that they will receive the support and resources necessary to effectively carry out their duties.
So the only question that I have is, how does this, he said he has to grow the economy. So, question, Prime Minister, how does this grow the economy?
The Caribbean Hospitality and Tourism Training Institute, CHTTI, was founded in 2016 to provide youth seeking to join the industry and working hospitality professionals with education and training. Officials say it is designed to meet the needs of the industry with a variety of hospitality solutions, including partner institute online learning, professional certification, and resources for high schools, colleges, and workforce agencies. The privately owned institute, which is headquartered in Vieux-Fort, has received the full backing of the United Workers' Party government and is seen as a main component in the government's plans to inject economic life in the south of the island. Prime Minister Alan Chasney this week informed that 150 students have completed certified courses.
The cruise lines have been down, and my understanding is they've hired most of the young people. Everybody has been overwhelmingly surprised at the caliber of the young people in the South and how trainable everybody has become. So the goal is that we're going to maybe train around 500 to 600 young people a year from the South. And the South is from Soufriere all the way to Dennery.
CHTTI recently opened its Castries branch, having moved into the old Monroe College building at Barnard Hill. The institute is being regarded in some quarters, though, as duplicating programs that already exist, such as Springboard and the government-operated National Skills Development Center, NSDC. In fact, government has redirected funds from the NSDC to CHTTI, a move that has impacted the organization.
What we're doing is taking some of the money from that program, where kids can get up to $500 a month to be able to pay for their bus transportation and pay for meals while they're doing the training. We're now opening up a new facility at the St. Lucia Development Bank to be able to lend money to the young people. The amount of money for the course also includes now the air transportation and the visa processing fee, because before it used to be $3,500, now it's $5,500. So the kids that are not going to get the visa go back down to the $3,500. But anybody who is going to include the visa will now do it. Will that be $5,500?
And I can tell you, if I could open 10 schools for my wife, I would open 10 schools for her.
CHTTI, you will see here, Caribbean Hospitality and Tourism Training Institute, which is the establishment that the Taiwanese gave the 100,000 US, was formed on the 27th of October last year. Good. Consent to act as director, the bottom of your screen. What name do you see there? Wendy Bailey. Who's Wendy Bailey? Guy's wife. Wendy Bailey is Guy's wife. You could show the other one as well. Right. Can you zoom out a bit again, please? It's at the top. It's at the top. Very well. And come down a bit, scroll down. Slightly. Good. Wendy Bailey, again of Forestier. Wendy Bailey is no other than Guy's wife. You know? Yes. Madame Guy Joseph. C'est lui qui fait CHTTI là, that Taiwanese là by $100 million, $100 million américain.
I can tell you, if I could open 10 schools for my wife, I would open 10 schools for her.
But you can't pay the police because you have to grow the economy. How does this grow the economy?
According to him, we have no money for the upkeep of our basic necessities. But whilst he says so on one hand, on the other hand, the country is bleeding. And look, recently, like I just said before the break, the government appointed a personal friend of Gail Rigobert to be her personal assistant. And they are paying her $10,000 a month. Show the contract. 10,000, yes. Service contract made this first day of November 2017 between the government of St. Lucia and Sonia Polius. Hereinafter called the person engaged. Sonia Polius, you're doing well. You know, salary will be at the rate of $10,000 a month. $10,000 a month for Gail's personal assistant. You see, and mind you, the contract is dated November 1st. It's dated November 1st. She has therefore received salaries for November, December, and January. No, the person is not a minister. She's a minister's personal assistant. She has received 3 salaries: November, December, January. But I can tell you folks, she has only in those 3 months that I refer to been to the Ministry of Education no more than 2 times, twice, for $10,000 a month. Yes, Lord. I'm thinking, imagine, you walking up and down for a little job, even if it's $1,200 they give you, I know you'll take it. You know?
And while the police are being told to wait, the public servants, hold on, give him time, give him a chance. Ernst & Young are waiting.
Madam Speaker, the professional consultancy represents less than 1% of the estimates of the expenditure. Procurement of professional consultants, the procurement of professional consultants services is not uncommon for a new government on assuming office. to get an independent assessment of the state and the economy, to seek advice on the reforms a government wishes to implement. Much has been said about Ernst & Young, a company of international and regional repute in financial services. Madam Speaker, the agenda for budget reform is well known, and this is not the first time that an administration has drawn on professional consultancy services to provide supporting and advancing their agenda. This year, the Department of Finance focused on training 13 agencies of government in strengthening linkages between budgeting and results.
Think about what could be done with $24 million beyond just paying the police increase in salaries, but in terms of equipment and training. Just think about that.
A myriad of people have weighed in on the Chasney administration's decision to grant Sandals a 100% withholding tax waiver for 2001 to 2009. From politicians to accountants and educators, the explanations, arguments and opinions have been pouring in. And on Tuesday, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance Alan Chasney was asked about the decision. The Prime Minister also dismissed statements that the government is foregoing millions of dollars that could have helped bolster critical social services.
When you look at what the claim was in terms of what the tax was due on, a court has already ruled that that would not apply. So this idea that people believe that Sandals owed the $7 million, on review of it, they didn't. So to suggest that that's money that we had and we forewent, that's not true. If you look at the Incentives Act that they passed, withholding tax is one of the exemptions that you're allowed to give under the incentives. So if you look at the situation where Sandals has bought Latok, fix it up, bought Halcyon, fix it up, bought Sandals Grand, which the former government said that was a great project, despite the Rochamel losing $42 million, that what saved the project was the fact that Sandals took over Sandals Grand. And now they're in the process of building a fourth property. I believe that Sandals has more than delivered to the people of St. Lucia.
So that's why the civil servants, the police, the teachers, you're all sticking that. So the question is, are you going to accept it?
Part of that, we believe, is that we need to retool our teachers.
He says, taking a page out of the book of some of the more successful countries in the world, the common practice in upgrading teachers is where the conversation should be started for St. Lucia.
The idea that a teacher can only come right out of high school and do 2 years of training at Sir Arthur and become now a certified teacher is not a high enough standard. So we need to raise the standard of our teachers. So one thing is to deal with new teachers coming in, and the next one is to how do we retool the existing teachers that we have, and some of them have to be grandfathered into it. So I would say to you, and I will defend this statement, if you have a bad curriculum but great teachers, I think you can still be very successful. But if you have a great curriculum and bad teachers, I don't think you're going to be successful.
The St. Lucia Teachers Union, though having taken some time, has fired back at the Prime Minister for what it calls concerning statements by the leader of the nation. In a release issued on Tuesday, 9th January 2018, the Teachers Union writes, quote, "In one statement, the Prime Minister suggested that he would not authorize expenditure in school repairs until such time that a new curriculum has been developed. Since curriculum development is a very involved process and takes time, the statement suggests that the government is willing to allow students to attend school in deplorable and unhealthy conditions for years to come." Unquote.
The curriculum that we have in education is a misfit, and then the standard of education is also a misfit. So then I feel it. I go to my constituency, I go to other people's constituencies, I see the state of the schools. There's some schools that are 50 years old or older, and we've not spent money for years on maintaining these schools. So I'm being asked as the Minister of Finance, make monies immediately available, which those funds are not necessarily available. Okay? But I believe that the curriculum needs to change. And before you design or build any new buildings or fix up the buildings, you must understand what that curriculum is. And so if you're going to change the design of the buildings, then you know that you're changing the design of the buildings. And we're building schools for the future. So what I've tasked the Ministry of Education to do is give me a sample school for the future. So when I go to other places, like in Canada, and kids are on iPads and the stuff is in the cloud, and you see now schools where the sitting is in clusters and the interaction with the teachers is completely different because you're teaching communication. You're teaching kids how to think.
The Teachers Union president says the country's teachers are facing tough times and the Prime Minister should not be adding to their discomforts by questioning their qualifications or skirting around the issues that plague them. A new school term started on January 8th, and Julian Monroe says across the country there are teachers who are trying their best to impart knowledge in deplorable school plans. He says promises of refurbished schools for the January term have not been fulfilled.
We're beginning this new year. The teachers have been very unhappy in that for quite a while we've noticed for the last summer schools were not attended to in terms of the physical plant. The Ministry of Education had promised the union that they would have done some work on some of the schools over the Christmas vacation, and that has not been done. So we have some of our schools continuing to deteriorate while no attention is paid to those school buildings.
Monroe says recent comments by the country's Prime Minister have only served to anger already frustrated teachers. He says at a time when educators are being asked to work in deteriorating buildings under increasingly strenuous conditions, Prime Minister Alan Chasney should show some compassion.
The Prime Minister sought to ridicule the professional qualification of teachers when he indicated that qualification, the problem with the education system is that teachers are not sufficiently qualified. The certificate or associate degree in teacher education, which is what determines that a teacher is qualified, is provided by the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, and it is endorsed by the University of the West Indies through the Joint Board of Teacher Education of the Eastern Caribbean. It is a regional qualification that determines whether you can practice in the teaching profession as a qualified teacher.
Monroe says it is ironic that the Prime Minister is questioning teachers' qualifications at a time when the union is pleading with the government to address the deplorable conditions at the SALCC Division of Teacher Education. He says Chasney's comments, which hinge school building and repairs on a change in syllabus, are equally perplexing.
The Prime Minister indicated that he is not going to spend money on repairing schools or building new schools until we have a new curriculum. Now, the truth is it takes time, and it's a lengthy process developing a new curriculum. So we understand by that the Prime Minister is saying that the government will continue to allow students and teachers to be in deplorable condition until we have a new curriculum. Now that makes absolutely no sense.
1/3 of the kids are graduating with proficiency in math and science. Okay? Only 4% of the kids are taking an IT course. So I asked, well, what's the IT course? It's how to use a spreadsheet and word processing. 4%, right? 43% of the young men today in the workforce only have a preschool education. You know, teachers, you have some great teachers, but you have some teachers that are just there for the job.
Well, to help me make sense of what is being said there, I'm very happy to have the former principal of the Mico Secondary School for over a decade, Senator the Honorable Guibion Ferdinand. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon, Chris.
So let's get right into it. What are your thoughts on Prime Minister's back and forth with the teachers?
Well, first of all, I made a few comments on that some time ago, and I basically summarized it with one word: absurd. It's absurdity. First of all, a Prime Minister is a leader of a country, and the teaching fraternity has quite a few issues itself. And to come across as not having confidence in what teachers are being exposed to, what teachers have as their potential is no comfort to them. Already, you can't really offer them much, and I'll get into that a little later. But to even suggest that there is any incompetence among our teachers, I can't think that it's basic common sense that you just don't do that. First of all, the Prime Minister made some comments about the curriculum. He wants a new curriculum. And quite rightly, the President of the Teachers Union explained what the curriculum involves. The curriculum is not a piece of paper. It's not a document. It involves a whole lot of experiences, planning, and developing a curriculum might take years. And so my question was, what happens to schools? Basic things like physical structure. What happens to them while you talk about all this fancy curriculum stuff? And then you ask the Minister of Education to give you a school, give you a sample school. How is she going to give it to you? Don't we have to pay for the school? Don't we have to build it? Where's she going to get? How is she going to snap her fingers and give a school to you? I really think that the Prime Minister, before he made those statements, should probably have consulted with a basic educator to understand the issue of curriculum. And when he speaks about give you a school, at what level? Education doesn't just exist in a vacuum. You have all levels of schooling. You have preschooling. You have infant schools. You have primary, secondary, and post-secondary. Of course, you have tertiary and so on. In St. Lucia, we have persons responsible for those schools at all levels. We have curriculum officers responsible for the preschool or early childhood education. We have education officers responsible for supervising schools. We have the Chief Education Officer's office, Chris, and that is one that I'm very concerned about. What is going on in the Ministry of Education regarding the Chief Education Officer's office?
Seems to be a war.
And I'm not referring to the individual. I'm referring to the office of the Chief Education Officer. That is the office that oversees school supervision. That is the office from which the direction of schools or what schools need to go into comes from. And if there is perceived or real turmoil there, where is the Chief Education Officer now? I understand he may be on leave again. He's back and forth. There's been one acting Chief Education Officer for a while. I'm not sure what's going on with his two deputies, because he's supposed to have a Deputy Education Officer for planning and a Deputy Education Officer for instruction. And if there is no clear direction from that level, what do you expect to happen at the other levels? Who are the education officers and the principals taking instructions from? Who are the teachers going to be getting instructions from? So it is no wonder that even things like school repairs that depend on the planning of schools. Because as a former principal, Chris, after appraisals in March, you go to planning and you go to staffing. That is where you meet with the ministry and you give them your submission of what teachers you would like to continue with, who is going on leave, who is returning. You make your requests for your school's repairs. You make requests for all kinds of things around May of every year. And of course that makes sense because that's when the budget is going to be. And then let us say by July, August, the ministry would have decided, okay, we have X amount and we're going to allocate resources to do X, Y, and Z, and these are the priority areas. Of course, we know that they may not be able to do everything in every school. But by June, July, the ministry would have been clear as to where it's going to allocate what. The situation we had at the Miko Secondary School some years ago, well, last year, was directly as a result of that same issue with the administration there. Why is it that school reopens in September, and the minister then comes to the school to try to talk about scratching up money to fix the school?
But she did an audit of the schools in early January before budget. So I don't understand why either. So the question is, why are the teachers accepting all of this?
Well, I have been in the teaching service, Chris, and teachers are amazing when it comes to resilience. Sometimes, even as a principal, you tend to be patient and you tend to understand because you work with a union, they guide you, and there are times you don't always get what you want as soon as you want it. I recall we had a fire at Miko Secondary in 2013, and we had to go on a shift system with RJ Secondary. We had to endure. But because we knew that the effort was being made, and we were not happy with what was happening, I was never really happy with everything. But the teachers have an amazing ability to be patient and to endure. And I think it is only fair that if teachers or the union or anyone in the teaching service is calling on the government to do something about schools is because they have really had, they've had it. School repairs. Let's take a current situation, Chris. We are now in February. And in February, all schools get involved in independence, Nobel laureate. And I think there is a theme this year. I think it's the same theme. It hasn't changed. I wonder why.
What's the point then?
And so you expect that the ministry would have had a program for schools in February. One of the activities that has been held in schools before, in terms of independence, is something that they called Plus Belle l'École. Basically beautifying your school. And there was a little incentive at school level, at district level, and even at national level for the school that is best
most
decorated. But Chris, when you look at some of the schools we have now, what are you telling people to do? Plus Belle l'École? And schools are in the state that they are. If I am at a school where I have no windows, I have no roof, the floors are deplorable, you think I'll be able to do something? What can I do to really make that school look like it shows some kind of national symbolism and so what? What can I do? So
then, what about like bringing in outside people like volunteers?
Well, we've done that. As a matter of fact, there is a certain section of my former school that we basically have been able to maintain because of that kind of corporate citizenship, corporate citizen participation. That is okay. And some principals are very creative, and they have they have the wherewithal where they collaborate with the private sector and other donors to actually help maintain the schools. That's fine. But because of certain certain guidelines with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Education, there are certain things you just cannot undertake at a school without approval of planning. For example, electrical repairs and certain things to do with the school's physical infrastructure. As a principal, you may want to fix, let us say, fix a roof. But you can't just bring a contractor there and fix a roof. Even if you get the roofing material, even if you have the resources, you still have to go through the ministry and get approval.
Makes sense.
And that to me is there's nothing wrong with that. I think the ministry has a right to supervise what goes on in schools. But what it does is that it could be very frustrating that you have written, and someone like me, I wasn't the one who made a lot of noise. Maybe so that is why some people thought that while I was at Miku, I accepted too much. But it's not because I wanted to make noise. You write to them, you follow the protocols, you engage the union, and sometimes you just don't know what next to do.
So question, how would you describe the mood right now among teachers?
I think there is a lot of tension. I think teachers are very uncomfortable. We've seen in the last few months, over and over, even parents of PTA members calling on the ministry to deal with some of the issues at the schools. I think it's like a pipeline that's just clogging up and building pressure. And the union has spoken out, Chris. The teachers' union is the bargaining agent for teachers. They are the legal bargaining agent for teachers. Never mind what politicians say. Never mind what parents and others say. The teachers' union is the legal bargaining agent for teachers. So when the teachers' union speaks, you have to take them seriously, because they are not speaking on their own. They would have consulted with their members. They would have been in touch. You heard the union president. He's on the ground. He visits the schools. He hears the principals call him all the time. Sometimes before he goes to RC Boys, he has to get up and go to a school because he gets a call that something is wrong. And when these people tell you that they have issues with what the Prime Minister says, it's because they know what's going on in the schools. They have experienced what's happening. They're listening to the teachers and the principals and the parents, and in some cases the students. And when they speak out, it's because they have reason to. So if I were the Minister of Education or the Prime Minister, I would take very seriously the utterances of the union, because it means that something is really wrong.
Something is very wrong. Very, very wrong. At this point, we'll take our first break. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
My constituents in Miku South, how proud I am and how grateful I am for them for the support that I'm getting from you. I'm very excited about the roads, but I'm even more excited about the opening up of the Angers agro-processing facility for the women. In terms of chocolate production, I'm been promised that that's going to be taken care of. I'm very excited about the new tank that's going to be providing water into the T. Rocher area. But more importantly, I'm so excited for my young people, because Mr. Lockerbie and his team are here. And they've drawn up all the plans for the facilities around the island. I want to thank the Minister of Sports in making that initiative happen. And I'm so excited about Deriso, T-Rocher, Lacouville, in terms of fixing up the facilities there. But more importantly is the work that's going to be coming in the south, so that the young people who live in that constituency and Micoud North and in Labrie and in Choiseul in particular, that they don't have to go up north to get a job. And more importantly, I just want to say to my farmers that the feeder roads are coming, but the confidence that you've exhibited in our government by going ahead and planting your fields and taking that risk, I want you to know that we're 150% behind you.
Would you, Mr. Prime Minister, under any condition at all, decide to change allegiance from the United Workers' Party to another political party or form your party as the MP for Micoud North right now?
If the circumstances were there and it made sense,
Micoud South,
if it made sense with the people of Micoud South, and I could go and justify to them, I would do it.
So here you have a leader of the United Workers' Party. The people of Micoud South have been loyal to him, been loyal to the party, and he himself is saying that it depends on the circumstances whether he would even be loyal to you. But you chose him over this gentleman.
For some, Micoud is just a place to pass on your way down to Vieux-Fort, overlooked and forgotten. But not for all.
This is our community.
For others, Micoud South only matters during elections.
I've only gone to Micoud South for actually official meetings of the party.
Guibion Ferdinand is Micoud South.
Born here in Angers, Deriso, raised and schooled from Miss Uriza's preschool to Deriso combined. Throughout my life, I've known myself to be from Micoud, and this is the place that made me, this is where I'm from.
Guibion Ferdinand has been the principal of the Micoud Secondary School for over 10 years, with a degree in education. A FIFA level administrator, 2014 National Sports Administrator of the Year, President of the Youth and Sports Council of Deriso for over 20 years, while others can't even spell it.
Giving service to community and to country is nothing new to me, and so entering elective politics is just another step in the direction that I have been serving all of my life.
Micoud South, you have a choice. Select what is foreign to you and all of us.
Rumors abound about the seed being sold and all that.
This is not a papi show. This place is my life.
Or participate in the vision of a man who is looking to take Micoud South to the mainstream of St. Lucian development for decades to come.
So I get it. People see Chasney come, checkbook is there. Figure by the time you go down to Micoud in a year's time, you'd get New York, or these days Miami South Beach. So I guess the question I have to ask you now is, how are things in the constituency?
Well, Chris, I would like to say that they're great, but unfortunately I can't. And it's very interesting what the Prime Minister, or let's refer to him as a district representative now, how he portrays when he speaks about Micoud South, that he's found all that love and all that appreciation. You need to come down to the constituency yourself and speak to the people. I'm there every day, and you listen to what they say. Now, some of them, they're a little bit fearful. They're not quite overt with what they're saying yet, but you need to come down and have a look. For example, he talks about roads and for the farmers, right? Yes, we see Diga and London Road. London Road is where I was raised. That's where I was raised. I know London Road from, the back of my hand. And I want to ask the Prime Minister, how many people who live on London Road worked on that road? Yes, you constructed a road. The people, the road passes in front of their house, and they can't get a day's work. But you talk about a road. I walked along that road one time with a friend of mine from Forestier. He actually came down to check on something for me. And while we walked down, I couldn't identify one person who was at work. And I realized that the guy was greeting everybody, was greeting him and saying hello and how's the family. So I said to him, and I can mention the person because he's a member of Parliament, Honorable my colleague Senator Joachim Henry. And he kept saying, "Hi, how are you? How is your family?" I said, "But Joachim, why all these people greeting you and thing, and I don't know them?" He said, "But Guibion, these fellas I'm from Forest here. These are people I know."
Oh, so that's the Fresh Start Road.
Fresh Start Road. And I'm saying, you mean to tell me you have a road that you're building, you say you're building it in Mico South. You want to create jobs and employment and so on. And the people who live, that's where I was raised. My family members, my friends, my cousins and neighbors, they can't get a day's work.
How many people from Mico have gotten work on that Fresh Start project?
For the Diga Road, I believe there were some persons, but I think the arrangement was more what you call day's work. They call it in our palace, Travail par jour. You get called up, you get a week at whatever per day, and that's it. So there was no real, the equipment of people from Mico South were not involved. The major works, like the drains and all of that, I want the district rep to tell us, how many of those people are from Diga, are from Deriso, are from Angers? And that is the issue.
But he wouldn't know.
I mean, the people in the constituency know each other, and they see who is there. They see the trucks, they see the equipment, they see who is at work. You may have one or two people with the stop and go sign and so on, the water girls and them, right? But is that what you consider the kind of employment you offer the people? And if I am from a constituency where I was raised, and my neighbors are complaining that the road is being done and they're not getting a day's work, yeah, you might talk about building a road, but what impact did you make?
So wait, we have an overlay I want to show again. Can you just describe some of what is going on in terms of the constituency as we run it on screen now?
Well, yeah, these potholes are very, very popular now. These potholes and that section of the road has not been touched for years. And it seems that part of the constituency, especially in the Blusher area, is not priority. The last time Blusher Road got any major attention was when Sir John was there. It looks like, yes, we see some concrete road being built in two areas. Here we have the school. This is a school in Mico South. This is the Prime Minister's constituency.
What school is this?
This is the Angers Secondary School. And look at the state of the school. I mean, the furniture, you have electrical problems there. And these are not issues that have not been taken up and have not been reported to the ministry. This is the Prime Minister's constituency. If the Education Ministry has not responded, that is your constituency. You have a responsibility to address that. And he spoke about schools and curriculum and so on. The physical plant is where the children have to go to. You don't have schools online at secondary and primary and infant level. Children have to go into a building and they have to be taught. And so if that is the condition of the school, that in your constituency, while you're busy traveling and busy talking about you want a modern school, why don't you fix those first? Why don't you give the children a decent desk to sit on, to sit at, so that they could do their work? Look at the condition of these things. And we're not only talking about the secondary schools, Chris. We're also talking about the preschools. I mean, if anybody's serious about education, you would understand that early childhood education is a basic foundation of a good education. So if you get it right at that point, by the time the students get to secondary school, then things are going to be much easier. What is the state of our preschools in Mico South? And I think you've spoken about the one at Diga before. And I mean, it's ridiculous. I understand, and I don't have all the facts for that one, but I understand that every time the Labour Party is out of government, that school's electricity supply. And look at this. This is a hazard. You're looking at a railing there, and this is a ceiling with
where is this?
It's still an Angers school. Look at this is the staircase adjoining the wall, and water seeping through that. And I'm sure that this is the only secondary school in Mico South. And it's not a very old school. Look at this corrosion. I'm not saying that it only started yesterday, but I think it is something that requires urgent attention. Some time ago, the sporting facilities, I heard the Prime Minister on the last show talking about sports and excited about young people.
But he has all the photos playing basketball with the young people.
But at these rims you see there, Chris, I was able, when I was president of the Youth and Sports Council, when I got nothing done, when I got nothing from the former district rep for the sports people, I went to Fair Trade, the farmers. If you look on the backboard, you will see the Fair Trade logo, right? The Fair Trade logo is on that backboard right there. I went to the Fair Trade company in the valley, and pleaded with the chairman to give us some assistance. He gave us some assistance, and we were able to construct the basketball poles, the
But doesn't the
netball.
Prime Minister have events there?
Of course, he had Badin Bam Bam or something some time ago. That's what the people of Miku South deserve. On the facility where they're supposed to have sports, that is the Tiroshe sector, the combined school playing field, Chris. Look at the height of the grass. The Tiroshe combined school, the Tiroshe community that gave him the most support in the constituency.
Isn't that the UWP stronghold?
The UWP headquarters, you know. Look at this is the staircase leading to the Tiroshe playing field from the school, and even the staircase is covered. These two. This is the gates, the entrance to the school. You can't to the school, not to the school, to the field. You can't even tell the difference. And the students, the children of Tiroshe, they used to have that school, that playing field as an area where they would play. Now, we have sports in term 2. Sport is on now. The children need to practice. They need to practice their relays. They need to practice all the...
School sports.
School sports is on. Where are the children of Tiroshe combined practicing now? They have to run on the concrete in the middle of the schoolyard. And they have a beautiful playing field facility that the nice workers... And let's go back to the playing field maintenance. The playing field maintenance workers in Miku South, I was instrumental in helping to ensure that all of them continued their work, and they were doing a wonderful job on all the playing facilities in Miku South. When I was president of the Youth and Sports Council, we got tremendous support from them. Our playing fields were always spick and span, and we had all our programs, the sports, the football, and everything being run.
So what reason has he given the people for the situation now?
I don't know. He makes excuses. I'm not sure. He says things here and there, and the people sometimes they just drink the Kool-Aid, as you say. You know, they just whatever he says, they just use it to justify.
But he's the Minister of Finance.
Yeah, but I'm
as well as
saying
the district rep and the Prime Minister.
I don't know, but Chris, to me, if you're the Prime Minister, and some people, when I was on the campaign trail, interestingly, some people who know me very well and wanted to support me, they said, Gibo, we like you. You know, it's not about you, but we feel we're going to get a Prime Minister. And if we get a Prime Minister, then he will be able to do things that the regular ministers cannot do. So if you're a minister under Kenny Anthony, Shasta will be able to do more for us than you can do as a minister under Kenny Anthony. That was their reasoning, which to me, in theory, makes some sense. But now, what's going on?
So explain what's happening here as we go to screen.
Right. This is the roof of a preschool, right?
Where?
That's in Diga. And that preschool is the only main preschool in Diga. There are over 30 children of Diga people going to that school. The same Diga that he's talking about. The children going to that school are children of the people of Diga. These children, they're not St. Lucians. They don't deserve some kind of comfort. Look at the state of the place. And as I understand it, that place, every time the United Workers' Party is in government, it seems that there is no electricity, there are issues with water. Some of the issues that are there seem to be re-emerging every time we're out of office.
So didn't he promise that he was going to do something there?
Of course he did. And I remember, do you remember when Darren Sammy and the West Indies T20 team won the first T20 World Cup?
Yep.
On that day, that was the place that he used with all the Diga people and brought his flat screen TV, and they sat and enjoyed the cricket finals, and Darren Sammy won, and all of us champion, and we had motorcade, himself and myself and my group of supporters, and we crossed paths in Blasha and shook hands, and everybody was happy because Darren is a man from Miku South. We were all happy about Darren. It wasn't any political fight. We were all happy. But you know what happened? That was the place that he saw fit to use to have the people come and view the finals because it's very close to Darren's home, Darren's mom's home. But you know what happened? The TV that he brought on, one would have thought that at least he would have left the flat screen TV for the preschoolers. He took it away. So there was electricity then for them to sit and enjoy World Cup finals and enjoy Darren Sammy and Darren Sammy's success. There was electricity then. Why isn't there electricity now? And for the 30 children of the people of Diga who need an education. That's all I'm asking. What is it about that? That preschool doesn't cost $100,000 to be repaired?
Well, I don't understand, because at the end of the day, like I said, what's the excuse? What excuse is there? You're the Prime Minister, you've gone through 2 budget cycles, and you're the MP, you're the Minister for Finance. So I don't understand.
Well, Chris, you see, I always like to be very correct when I speak on issues especially regarding education. And I just want to run quickly back to the issue of the curriculum and teacher competence. I think it's an insult and it's ill-informed for the Prime Minister to suggest that our, especially Arthur Lewis Community College, or our education system in the region, in St. Lucia particularly, is of any standard that is lower than excellence. Because I was a student of Teachers College, and the teachers at the time when we were trained, we had persons from Dominica, St. Vincent, Montserrat, and other OECS countries in our class. Even now, when the home ec program was offered, the other OECS countries would send their teachers to St. Lucia to be trained. And as the union president correctly said, their certification is approved by the University of the West Indies. So what else does the Prime Minister need for him to know that our teachers and the quality of certification and education in St. Lucia is second to none? People come here, people leave other countries and come here, they get a room to rent, they get their boarding and everything for them to attend Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. When you have a first degree, a bachelor's or master's degree in education from the University of the West Indies at Arthur Lewis Community College, you're in good shape. You can get it's acknowledged and recognized all over the world. And I want to challenge anybody to tell me whether the St. Lucian students who graduate from our schools and migrate to Canada, to the US and other countries, whether when they enter secondary college, compare them with the students of these countries and tell me if they're not on par or if they're not outperforming them. So what are you telling St. Lucians that all of a sudden in 2017, 2018, you are the only one who thinks that after all of these years, Sir Arthur Lewis, Derek Walcott, and all those brilliant brains that we've produced, that our education system, our curriculum has a problem? And poor curriculum, good teachers, good curriculum, poor teachers. What is that?
I can't make sense of that.
I would be the first to say that any school curriculum, from time to time, will require review and improvement. Of course, there is always room for us to improve what we do and to improve our practice. Pedagogical practice, great. You can improve that. But do not try to use it as an excuse to buy yourself time while you're not fixing the schools. Fix the schools, and if you want to upgrade the curriculum, let's do that. And one more thing, Chris, quickly. We're talking about stuff in the cloud and modern schools and students working in groups. How do you expect our schools to be ready for CXC, which is online? And it starts in a month and a half. April is orals. So CXC begins in a month, online. No laptops. What have you done with the infrastructure at secondary schools to accommodate the program? What is our students' level of preparedness for that type of administration of exams? And you're talking about curriculum and stuff in the cloud. You need to do the basic things first. There is no infrastructure, as far as I'm aware now, that has improved with the state of our computer labs and our ICT centers, that the Labour Party had already instituted all these ICT centers, and they take credit for it now. But let's go to the schools. The computer labs in the schools, I am very concerned when the CXC program examinations will begin, whether our students will be able to go through that process without any glitches.
Well, they're not spending money on it. Simple as that.
I can speak for Miku Secondary for sure. Miku Secondary has a population of almost 800 students, probably now about 700. And we have one computer lab at that school. And it's the constituency of the Minister of Education. That computer lab is used to teach IT, information technology, and EDPM, electronic document processing. Most schools have 2 labs, we have 1. Now, if you're going to have to administer both of these exams at the CXC level, using that 1 lab, which I know is not in great shape, how is it going to be done? And CXC ain't going to wait for you. They have their program, they have their standards, and you have to administer the exam locally. CXC is a regional body. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Education can't dictate to CXC what they do. You have to get your business in order so that you can administer the exam, because it's a standardized exam. It's a certification exam.
So he can't change CXC?
No, he cannot. I thought he could have changed visas and what people go into America without visas. And you know, sometimes you have to be realistic. There are some things, even if our Prime Minister and our country wants to see change, we just don't have the power to change them. So let's get our house in order so that when CXC time comes around, that the students will be able to take that exam online and they will not be compromised. Because I can very well see issues when exams are being administered, that our students may be compromised. And test compromise is something you don't want.
Folks, stay tuned. When we come back, we open up for calls.
Engineered an entire protest march around their claim the Kenny Anthony administration was charging drivers a hidden tax of $6.80 per gallon of gasoline. In fact, the CIF, or Cost, Insurance and Freight Charges used to calculate the wholesale and retail prices of petroleum products, are averages of actual costs incurred by importers Salt and Rubis prior to the date of announcing the price adjustments. These figures are easily verified through invoices and customs documents. At the time, Chasney advocated the return to monthly adjustments, stating that gas prices should be driven by market forces. But if market forces alone determined the price of petroleum products, St. Lucians would see dramatic increases in cooking gas, gasoline, and diesel. In his maiden New Year's interview on DBS's Newsmaker Live, the Prime Minister, now in the driver's seat, gave a rambling explanation of the elusive $6.80.
Clearly, when we did the march, and the government then reduced the price, they reduced the price by the same $3 that we said that they were overcharging. So the system that the government had in place previously was that they were going to adjust it every 3 months. And clearly what we saw was a pattern in which it would appear that they were deliberately overestimating what they thought the price was going to be. And so there was always a surplus at the end of the period. Okay? That surplus was consistently somewhere between $2.50 and $3. So when they came in, I started asking the questions, where's the money? So if you have where the importer, it's regulated that the importer can only make X number of dollars, right? It also has the regulated that the gas station person can only make X number of dollars. And the money is collected at the pump. Right? So it's not money that's exported out of St. Lucia. So the amount that was due to the exporter sent to him, the amount that's due to the gas station person export, and the rest of the money is sent to government. Government was the one making the money.
This convoluted account still does not explain the $6.80, which remains elusive. The Prime Minister then went on to justify the $1.50 extra per gallon of fuel that motorists must now pay to fix roads. This is in addition to all other taxes the public must continue to pay into government's coffers.
We have come in and we've said that we've put a $1.50 gas tax on. We've put the money into a lockbox, and we're now borrowing $150 million US in order to be able to execute a massive road rehabilitation program. So people will see exactly where the tax is going. Not going into the general coffer. The money is going specifically and only for the road rehabilitation.
I want to speak on behalf of the industry I'm into now, which is the fishing industry. Where when I look at minibus drivers...
Fishermen don't get paid these days.
No, we don't know when last we got paid. And minibus drivers, taxi drivers, if the minibus driver don't have a load, they don't move. That means they don't go nowhere. They won't burn no fuel. When they do get a load, they will get cash. The taxi driver, the same as well. With the fisher, every morning, it's a daily basis that we have to go out. And the minimum fuel that a fisher burns per day is $600 to $700, whether we get fish or not. And I could remember when they said they have tax for road on fuel. Do the fisher use the road to pay tax on fuel? I'm sure you all have heard that sooner or later fishers who are here, we will not be getting no rebate. All right? So I'm telling you, in all the industries that we have, the farmers, the minibus drivers, the taxi drivers, the fisher is the last graded industry. And they are the ones saving the country when it comes to nutrient-rich food. Because without that fish, we can't go nowhere. We can't even export. We don't even have a market to export. All what we we get from the sea, we have to try and sell it here. And thanks God to our local people who believe in eating that right fish. Thank you.
Shasne just come to kill our country and kill our deliberate Indian. Because right now there, we can't talk, we can't say nothing. We have no deliberate coming in. Shasne take everything for himself and his comrade, his friends, his relatives. And we finish Indian, man. All fishermen finish. We crying. Shasne give us a chance.
So that said, you're from a fishing and farming community yourself. What's it like down there?
Right. Let me talk about the farming first. I remember one of the comments that the Prime Minister made at one of the interviews was the Ager. We didn't say Ager. I don't know what he said, but I think he was referring to Ager, the Ager agricultural processing plant, and talking about chocolate or cocoa production. First of all, we must acknowledge that that started a long time ago. And there were a couple of persons from, even members of my staff, who were my teaching staff, who are members of the Rural Women's Association. And they get some support from ICA to do juice extraction and other things to help themselves. Now, what he's announcing there, what he's talking about there, is something that was already on stream. And there has been no change in any situation regarding the farmers so far, from what I see. First of all, the farmers were encouraged to, go and plant your stuff, plant more bananas, there's going to be markets and stuff. The Blanchard area, the Descartier area, which is close to the rainforest, this is the main area where our farmers from Miko South cultivate. Of course, the farmers have gone out. They're hopeful that they're going to plant more bananas and they're going to get markets to sell everything. Even the other crops like yams and vegetables, the farmers are still going to Massy stores and doing the same things. There's nothing new that has happened. I had a good friend, a good Flabo friend from Blanchard, and during the campaign, he's related to my wife, so we are good partners, but he's Flabo. He said to me, tout ça nous plate, Chasneka je viens côté pour vendre. So I met him recently. I said, "Uplati ba?" He said, "Yeah, he gave me a nice yam." And I said, "So come on here, buy car." He did well. Ikavini. Now that is what has happened now. The focus has shifted from "you will get these things done" to telling the farmers and the fishers now, "Just hang on, it's coming." And this is the second year, almost the second year. So the farmers are now beginning to wonder. And remember that bananas, the period of time from planting to harvesting is not 5 years. So what happens to the crops that the farmers have gone out to plant? And you still have not given them any new outlet, any new markets. When it comes to the fishers and the gas, there's another guy. I have some good Flabo friends. He was talking about, Kenny mette l'argent sous gas là. You mette misi l'argent sous license, tout bagay. So he was upset at Kenny for raising the licensing fee and so on. So I asked him by how much. He said how much. So I sat with him and we discussed the difference that is being paid with the 150 on the gas. And I told him, put 150 on a gallon of gas. I said, how many gallons of gas you use per day? He gave me an idea. I said, how many per week? We got to about maybe a total of about $400 for the month. I said, multiply that by 12. How much are you paying? How much more are you paying for the year for gas as compared to the $300 or whatever dollars? You know what he said to me? Now, this is the kind of thing that the Prime Minister does and the government is doing that people have to pay attention to. The difference between $300 being paid at once on an increase in gas, whatever it was, as compared to 400 by 12, right? $4,800 for an average farmer or fisherman, or even average commuter, is over $4,000. But they'll tell you, I ain't feeling that because they're taking a little bit. So I asked him, if a man comes to your shop, you have a shop, a man comes to your shop and he thief $150 every day for a year, and another man just breaks in and he takes $300, which one has stolen more from you? Both of them thief. But the one who took $150 for every day would have stolen more. So, the argument is not about whether the farmers are getting a better deal. The argument is they're not. They're not. And the gas issue affecting the fishermen, we have, Ager is the main fishing focus area. There's a place called Tadi Food food bar. I big him up now because he's the main seafood fella in the area. Most people come there to get their seafood. So you have fish, labi, and octopus, everything. The Angers people are very well known for doing their spear diving and so on. And they are still standing by the main road. If you drive down the road, when you get to the Angers Gap, on a Friday afternoon, you'll still see the Angers fishermen and the Angers divers. They stand by the road with little sacks on the side of the road selling whelks and their little catch, you know. They still have to come. Some of them come by my home with a little bucket and they sell their pot fish. They still have nowhere to really, nothing in place to deal with that. And that's their daily bread. And that's Mico South.
Wow. Good afternoon. Hello.
Good afternoon to you, Chris. Good afternoon to you, Senator.
Good afternoon, bro.
Good afternoon.
I'm doing the program, and I can't seem to digest all the images that you all show on this program and the problems that you highlighted, Senator, in the constituency of Mico South. And I've never heard the Prime Minister ever highlighted these issues that you just highlighted there, not even in the House. And especially this is in his constituency. And, you know, it just can't seem to be something that I can digest to see that you have a responsibility to come and assist and fix the issues that in your constituency, especially the preschool that you showed. And this is the condition of a preschool, the early learning of a child. But I just want to ask you, Senator, what is your vision for Mico South? Because you know we have an election coming up. So what is your vision for the people of Mico South? Thank you. I'll listen off it.
Yeah, thank you. Nice question. I stated that very clearly when I first entered the political arena, and it was very clear to me and to my, well, at least to some, that the major issue in Mico South is quality representation. And my vision was to have a Mico South where the representation quality that we have received is going to be up. It's not just about doing how many projects. From the way you address people, from the way you deal with constituents, from the way you speak to and about them, we have people who just do not connect with the district rep. They cannot have a conversation with him because they can't speak no English. The only way you can communicate with certain people, and that's a fact, is to speak to them in Creole. And they just cannot, it's just not, I mean, they are supporting him, they will say hello to him, you know, but they cannot have a one-on-one, just how you're doing and how's the family in English with him.
So how would you position or reposition Mico South?
First of all, Mico South has basically been neglected for many years. And I think that there are some very, very strong structures, strong people, and strong groups in Mico South that any district rep who is worth his salt should incorporate into his plans. When I left Mico South Youth and Sports Council and Football League, we had a very well-organized structure. Anybody knows that. I want to ask the district rep, apart from what we have had called a Shasney Cup, which I'm very happy that the football people were able to collaborate with. What are the efforts that have been made? What is it that has happened that has incorporated the existing structures that have done so well on their own without government resources in the constituency?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Christopher.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Good afternoon, sir.
You know, Christopher, look, politicians, whether in opposition or in government, can talk till they're blue in the face. They can talk till the cows come home. Voters can talk till they're blue in the face or till the cows come home. The status quo will remain. The status quo will remain unless and until the people of the country determine that they want better. Unless and until the people of the country decide, they determine that we want things to change. It cannot be business as usual. Because what is happening, Christopher, is that, look, first of all, we have certain enclaves, whether SLP, whether UWP, where regardless of what happens, regardless of what obtains, people will return either the SLP candidate or will return the UWP candidate. History was made some years ago when Castellius, representing the SLP, won Mikud South. But that was an anomaly.
Mm.
I can't think of any other way to put it.
In more ways than one.
That was an exception to the rule. Yes. But you see, and you see, that is why I love the idea of the revolution that you've been talking about, because I posited that view several years ago. And the revolution must be such that we educate or we re-educate our people so they better understand the government, they better understand governance, and get rid of this foolish notion that because their grandparents or their parents, and whether it's in Mikud, whether it's in Labrie, whether it's in Viewfort South or Viewfort North or in Catchrees Central or in Catchrees North, that because their parents or their grandparents supported a particular party, that they have to continue supporting that party through thick or thin. People, politicians, parties must be voted in on merit, not because people represent a particular party, or because a candidate comes from a particular constituency. Parties, politicians must be voted in on merit. People must know, people must see, people must have a fair idea of this is what we know we're going to get, whether based on your experience, whether based on what you've done before, whether based on the representation that you make to us, and we feel relatively confident that you're going to deliver based on what we've heard from you, based on what we've seen from you, whether in the constituency, whether elsewhere, we know that you're going to deliver. But what obtains now, Christopher, we've got to find a way to change this. We've got to find a way of having civil society play a more prominent role in terms of speaking with people, and not just in terms of politics, but in terms of all kinds of stuff, whether it be health, whether it be consumer advocacy, whether it be education. But you see, we've not come to this point yet because too many of us.
Well, we better get there soon.
Selfish. Well, I'm hoping that this revolution can begin to turn the tide, to turn things around, so that our people can begin to think differently, look at the development of this country differently, not based on whether they support a particular political party or a particular person, not whether, and because their parents or grandparents support or supported a particular political party, to base their decision on that. I'm hoping the revolution will change all of that, so that at the end of the day, we can get a better St. Lucia for all of us. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you. I hope so as well. So back to the vision with regard to Mikud South.
Well, yeah, as I was saying, it was very simple in terms of the way I stated it, to improve, to have a Mikud South where the quality of representation that the people receive is worth the standards that they have set for themselves. I always believe in participative decision making and people not imposing things on us. We have competent people in Mikud South. And if anyone is honest, Sir John Compton was the Prime Minister for several years and was the district rep. And even if you want to criticize him, there are certain things you can point to and say that Sir John was able to do. Give him his due. But we've had a district rep for 15 years thereafter. Let's point, what are the things that we can point to? What can the people of Mikud South speak to? I used to get jokes going to work.
The family.
I used to get jokes going to work after sitting at the house because my district rep spoke, right? And people, it's not a joke.
You're getting jokes now too?
I still getting jokes because my new district rep is the same thing. And I'm thinking that it's like Mikud South has been, a place of ridicule. And I know that we have provided quality people. We have people, we have quality labor force, we have people of quality there. And we deserve better. It's not about just saying you want a prime minister, just to say you have a prime minister. But what is it redounding to in the constituency? Is it just people coming to church and cry, or coming to church and being blessed by the priest? I mean, this is what is going on.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to ask the gentleman a question. In March, when we are ready to march on this country to shut it down, is your constituency ready? That is the question, because every one of y'all have to get your people together and be ready to shut this thing down, because it it has to start with y'all. The Labour Party have to be the one to do this thing. It is the alternate. Okay? And y'all have done good for the country. So in March, when the people want to start marching, you need to have your people organized and ready. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's interesting. First of all, Miku South is a microcosm of the rest of the country. And I think we feel the same pains that everyone else feels. Our constituents complain all the time. They feel it, and they have to deal with the fact that the most culpable individual with all of what the country is facing is their district rep. And I'm sure that any effort that is going to be put towards dealing with this and bringing and rescuing our country, that Miku South people are ready to be part of it. As you can see, we've had 2 protest marches as a party. We've had their other activities that have not even been part of the Labour Party, and Miku South people have been there. They've been there in numbers, and I'm sure that they are ready. Once they're properly mobilized, and this is our responsibility to do, and that they will be very well represented.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Mr. Ferdinand, Mr. Senator,
good afternoon.
Tell the gentleman who called we are ready, because we are doing all in our best to see that government go down in Miku South.
There you go. So, there you go.
Right,
this is a Miku South constituent. Everybody knows him. He's very vocal and open, and that's it. And I think, I mean, we don't get involved in law breaking and anything. But anything that is in the interest of the country is the responsibility of every St. Lucian, whether you're from Miku South or Grosley, to be part of it.
So, what about United Workers' Party supporters who are disenfranchised now? Do you see them coming on board?
I think there's a peculiar situation in Miku South. I think our United Workers' Party supporters in Miku South, it's a little difficult for them to move. I don't know for what reason. But I have found that lately they are speaking out a little more. I still think a lot of them fear, they think, because they've been told, just wait a little longer, it's coming. Some of them don't want to sell out yet, quote unquote. They want to wait, they think they're going to get something. A little contract will come, so they're holding back. But then they are actually feeling the pain, and they're talking. And I think it'll take a real mammoth effort to get them going. But what is perhaps playing in their mind is that there is some kind of inducement coming, and it's being propagated by a certain group of people in the constituency. Don't worry, you'll get the other thing just now, that kind of thing.
Maybe Ernst & Young will open a store, open an office down there. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello, Christoph.
Yo.
Yeah, let me tell you.
The 1st of March is a Thursday, and the 4th is a Sunday. I don't know which one you're going to have, but I said to you yesterday, let us plan a meeting. The color like Antoine and many other party, PLP, LCLP, or whichever, UWF, call a meeting to discuss the whole scenario. Now, one of the things a friend of myself was discussing, that since the 1st is a Thursday, and that's Richard's show, you can have a panel of persons. No, because you're laughing, there's nothing there to laugh.
No, I understand.
It's serious business. Let's get the ball rolling. All right? The people want the thing to go. Let's carry on the thing.
The first Monday in March is
Either
March 8th.
if it's a motorcade, and we stop every area, or else, or we have a match, or whichever it is. I don't know. But that needs to have a meeting and to get the ball rolling. Okay?
Understood.
So that's why we need to have a meeting. Now, since Brother Guibion is there, when I look at Deriso, Blanchard and all these areas, sometimes I have to ask myself, how they just think, under what basis they're thinking, and what reason they have in thinking the way they just think. Because you cannot tell me. You tell me that man,
we are going to get a prime minister. So you rather vote for the man. The man was there with you, thick and thin, doing all sorts of things for your head, having the young people to develop themselves in sports and other aspects of their development. You get in a river and they put in a fella who can speak proper English. Right? He does lie morning, noon, and night, 24/7. I just cannot. Now I'm sure they regret what they did. Because you can't understand to tell me. And so can do the same thing. I'm trying to wonder what's going through our people's mind. What they're thinking of. They're voting against their own self and their children and the future of their children. That's what's happening in the Central China. Because anytime you have a passive nation, right, then these are the things you will find happening. But if you have proactive nation, people, governments, private sector, etc., don't do what they want. That's what's happening because of the passiveness of people in this society. That's why this is happening, my friend.
That's why we have to march. Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, I wanted to mention something. Just before the last caller came in, I made a point about going to church and cry. And this is a serious matter, you know. I mean, we chuckled about it, but I am beginning to wonder. I was raised in church. I was raised in the Roman Catholic Church, right? My wife was raised in Christian church as well. And I have a lot of respect for church. And what I see now is that I want to use the local palace. Shastega, your papi show He's papi show in the church.
Why?
I mean, he comes to church. People come to church.
Cupcakes from sandals.
You know, you come to church. There's nothing wrong. The district rep is welcome to be in church and be in fellowship with his constituents. I love that. But you come to church, and when I walk in, you're at a pulpit talking, giving testimony at the front. Are you the preacher? You're allowed to come to the front and talk. You know? Come to the always accompanied by an entourage and coming up to the front to do what? On Sunday of this week, the Prime Minister was in the Roman Catholic Church. And one of the guys, in fact, the main guy, my good friend, I won't mention his name, he's my good partner from Domel, who took him up to the front to get blessings. He's a fellow who's a member of the evangelical church. You're not Catholic, you're not used to coming to the people's church. You come into Papi
The
Show.
religious community seems to be,
Yeah, but
he has church over at Coco Palm now.
We must draw the line between fellowship and politics. I never went to any church to campaign, right? I never did that. I was served in church. I have been doing my part in terms of community work, but I have never gone to any church to campaign. That's not the place for that. You need to respect the sanctity and the sanctuary of the Lord. If you say you respect it.
Hello.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
That is one of the things that I just find so difficult to fathom about St. Lucian. The fact that they will support even criminal behavior out of affiliation. It's a good, it's a duck, it walks like it looks like it's a duck. Can't be anything else. Come on. Anyway, Christian boy, I find out, I've had an encounter with this, well, I don't know what to put it in, to call it this party or this government or something. Up north, I can't get justice. That's one of the things. I want to salute the gentleman.
Talk a bit louder, caller.
I want to salute the gentleman here, Mr. Ferdinand. He's a breath of fresh air. You know, as regards the political arena. I don't know what the Labour Party is going to do to get all its faithful back on board, but a lot of them jump ship, Chris, and without them, you can't pull it off. The Labour Party faithful who have jumped ship, you guys need to start doing something to appeal to that immigrant. That's what's going to tip the scale. Anyway, one of the most pressing issues I have regards, I have an encounter with this party, with this government, because of affiliation, because it's very complicated. And up to now, I can get just a little fly. I'm not a little fly on the wall. I have nobody of any particular interest or importance. But I have an encounter with this government where I had to end up in court, judicial review with these guys, as a result of one family member trying to teach me a lesson, punish me, and nonsense like this. Anyways, the matter going to judicial review. Up to now, I can get finality or judgment in the matter. Let me fly on the wall, not know anybody, because, well, boy, Mr. Minister, so on. I took my little backside quiet, because the thing coming up for renewal again, I can't shout, and the man in police and everybody watching what's going on, you know. But there's a thing with affiliation, with St. Lucian's. Timothy, I just can't understand. It's telling you, square in the face, square, flush. This whole nonsense is dimple. What's the matter with St. Lucian? What is the matter? You don't know what happened. I hope in the next elections, when these guys do lose, I'm not any big political supporter of any political party as anything. I might have my affiliations also with both parties. I'm staying fresh in the middle. That's why I think I'm in a position to make a fair enough judgment on who offers the quality. Can he do his nonsense? He goes nonsense. Can he's on his way. We need to get a new focus for this country, because you see this focus that day, this thing about, wash your car, fix up your business, or whatever it costs the country, it doesn't work for too long, It's not going to work for too long. And you see the revolution you're talking about. I used to think it was some kind of revolution of the mind, the attitude. But we might actually need a physical revolution. We might just actually need one of those to get things to and St. Lucians. I cannot fathom why St. Lucians would support even criminal behavior because of affiliation. I hope the females of this country, and there has been a lot of nonsense, the females in a lot of nonsense. Fellas in prison, you're going to sign a warrant for child maintenance for fellas. Month to end, you're going to sign child maintenance warrant for fellas, police, all kind of nonsense. These guys say they would stop. And it's going on a big head. Now, one more, I don't want to hug the crew because by the time I could spend the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, we're on time already.
Okay.
Yeah.
One, I hope the females, they will listen, the females of this country, have this United Workers' Party to pay dearly as the way they treated them for like Louise and this whole shenanigan with the Minister of Coccoloctic Affairs. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And speaking of that, Tim, quick, if I could say that quickly, you see, you notice that lately there have been an upsurge in the number of sexually inappropriate videos, quote unquote, by children in schools. That's not the first time. It has happened before, but I noticed an upsurge. There's a theory of learning that is proposed by the behaviorists that tells you that children learn by imitation. They do what they see their elders do. I am prepared to suggest that some of what we're seeing now is showing that this kind of evidence may be there. Why is it that there's a certain upsurge in all that video and sexual misconduct by students?
Because you've always made it popular.
Well, I just want to throw that, and I think we have to be very careful. What is it we're telling young people when we conduct ourselves a certain way, and we expect them to do otherwise? The young people are not stupid, Chris. I was a teacher. You teach them stuff in the class, and when you finish the lesson, they come and they ask you, but so what about you? They're more interested in what you're doing and how you live than what you're telling them. So we have to be very careful with that we are not breeding a new generation of criminals, of perverts, of everything else you can call it, among our young children. And then we have to deal with it later. So we have to be very careful as leaders what kinds of examples we set for our children.
On that note, folks, I'll leave you with the moment of the day.